The president said if we let him borrow $787 billion, he'd keep unemployment below 8%. We're now in the third year with unemployment above 8%. The economy is the issue people are concerned about, and that's where I've spent my time. I've had a real job in the real economy. I want to bring those skills to America.
And you are running on those business credentials. In 2008, you said, and I'm quoting, "We should let Detroit go bankrupt." Today, though, the industry is clearly on the rebound. 115,000 jobs added. Money is being paid back. The president, of course, is in Ohio today, highlighting Chrysler. You also accused the president yesterday of making the recession worse. But based on what we've seen in the auto industry, weren't you wrong in this case? Wasn't it right for both the auto industry and for the American economy to help that industry?
Yeah, I think you're misunderstanding the word bankrupt. Bankruptcy, as you understand, is not liquidation of an enterprise. It's allowing an enterprise to go through the bankruptcy courts so that they can reorganize and come out stronger. And that's precisely what finally happened. When I wrote that piece, the auto industry was asking for a bailout. We were unwise just to send billions of dollars. Instead, finally, the president recognized I was right.
So you're saying the president
took the company, in the case of General Motors.
So you're saying the president took
the company finally went through bankruptcy, went through a managed bankruptcy, came out of bankruptcy, and now is recovering. So look, the right process for an enterprise in trouble is not to be given free money from the taxpayers with a bailout. It's instead to go through a bankruptcy process, reorganize their debts, reduce their cost, and come out stronger.
But
and
the
that's why
companies
Detroit
actually
is now
went through
back on its feet.
bankruptcy. But so the companies actually had to go through bankruptcy before that bailout.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. The headline you read, which is said, "Let Detroit go bankrupt," points out that those companies needed to go through bankruptcy to shed those costs. And the federal government put in, I think, $17 billion into those companies before they finally recognized, yeah, they need to go bankrupt, to go through that process so that they're able to get rid of their excess costs.
His economic plan is, and this is the entire gist of his economic plan, is to cut more taxes for the most wealthy Americans, to cut more regulations for banks and corporations, including regulations we just put in place in response to the worst financial crisis we've had in our lifetimes, to cut more investments in things like education and research, all with the hopes that somehow this is going to create more jobs and prosperity. That's what Mitt Romney believes. That's what his allies in Congress believe. Now, there's one problem with that. It is an economic theory. The hitch is that we tried this. As Bill Clinton put it a couple of weeks ago, this is exactly what was done before I took office, except on steroids.
And the commanders on the ground feel that we should bring down our surge troops by December of 2012 and bring down all of our troops, other than perhaps 10,000 or so, by the end of 2014. The decision to pull our troops out before that, they believe, would put at risk the extraordinary investment of treasure and blood which has been sacrificed by the American military. I stand with the commanders in this regard and have no information that suggests that pulling our troops out faster than that would do anything but put at great peril the extraordinary sacrifice that's been made. This is not time for America to cut and run. We have been in for 10 years. We are winding down. The Afghan troops are picking up the capacity to secure their country, and the mission is pretty straightforward. And that is to allow the Afghan people to have a sovereign nation not taken over by the Taliban.
Some of the soldiers I met at Fort Bliss had just come home from the battlefield, and others were getting ready to ship out. We've broken the Taliban's momentum in Afghanistan and begun the transition to an Afghan lead. Next month, the last of the troops I ordered as part of the surge against the Taliban will come home. And by 2014, the transition to Afghan lead will be complete. But as long as we have a single American in harm's way, we will continue to do everything in our power to keep them safe and help them succeed.
Pierce, I don't support new gun laws in our country. We have a lot of gun laws now. We have background checks and other restrictions on gun ownership in our country. But as you say, we have 300 million guns in America. We have a Second Amendment that protects the right of people to bear arms. I support that. I think that the effort to continue to look for some law to somehow make violence go away is missing the point. The real point has to relate to individuals that are deranged and distressed, and to find them, to help them, and to keep them from carrying out terrible acts. Timothy McVeigh, how many people did he kill? With fertilizer, with products that can be purchased legally anywhere in the world. He was able to carry out vast mayhem. Somehow thinking that laws against the instruments of violence will make violence go away, I think is misguided.
I, like most Americans, believe that the Second Amendment guarantees an individual the right to bear arms. I think we recognize the traditions of gun ownership that passed on from generation to generation, that hunting and shooting are part of a cherished national heritage. But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals. That they belong on the battlefield of war, not on the streets of our cities. I believe the majority of gun owners would agree that we should do everything possible to prevent criminals and fugitives from purchasing weapons. That we should check someone's criminal record before they can check out a gun seller. That a mentally unbalanced individual should not be able to get his hands on a gun so easily. These steps shouldn't be controversial. They should be common sense. So I'm going to continue to work with members of both parties and with religious groups and with civic organizations to arrive at a consensus around violence reduction.
The law we passed is here to stay. If you have health insurance, the only thing that changes for you is you're more secure, because insurance companies can't drop you when you get sick. They don't have a lifetime limit where suddenly they're dumping the costs on you even though you've been paying your premiums. We've got millions of young people who are able to stay on their parents' plan right now because of that health care law. We've got millions of seniors who are seeing cheaper prescription drugs. And if you don't have health insurance, we're going to help you get health insurance. I believe it was the right thing to do, because that's part of making sure a middle class is thriving in this country, that they don't have to fear that when somebody in their family gets sick, that somehow they're going to lose everything they've worked for all those years.
Let me tell you this about our system in Massachusetts. 92% of our people were insured before we put our plan in place. Nothing's changed for them. The system is the same. They have private market-based insurance. We had 8% of our people that weren't insured. And so what we did is we said, let's find a way to get them insurance. Again, market-based, private insurance. We didn't come up with some new government insurance plan. Our plan in Massachusetts has some good parts, some bad parts, some things I'd change, some things I like about it. It's different than Obamacare. And what you heard from Herman Cain is one absolutely key point, which is Obamacare intends to put someone between you and your physician. It must be repealed. And if I'm President of the United States, on my first day in office, I will issue an executive order which directs the Secretary of Health and Human Services to provide a waiver from Obamacare to all 50 states. That law is bad. It's unconstitutional. It shall not stand.